Good morning. It's 11 o'clock. I'm standing just outside my kitchen window and I'm going to share with you what my garden looks at 11 o'clock. In the morning. So the top of the mountain is in front of us and the sun has just come over the top of the mountain and it's hitting my garden. And it'll last anywhere from 2 to 3.5 hours or so. I'm going to pay closer attention. Now these baskets that I have hanging here really don't get any direct sun. I have them planted with impatiens, so we will see what happens with that. Now I'm going to pull you in a little bit closer so that you can see. Rhododendron had some blossoms this year. I'm going to do video on potting up this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful orchid. Okay, so got that potted up. I had about 2 days of solid effort and really got a lot done. Now these are sun impatiens, these brilliant pink, and they look like they're at least 2 inches in diameter. Look at how big that is. I don't think I've ever seen sun impatiens, New Guinea impatiens, that big. And this is a begonia. Does pretty well in shade and sun. And here I have one of the proven winners, bubblegum, that everybody loves and adores, and it supposedly gets huge. Full to part sun. Well, most everybody plants this in full sun, and it can get 12 to 24 inches high. And how wide does it get? Well, I've heard 3 feet, and I've seen 3 feet in videos. So I have a trailer, and I also have a Koya, so this will be interesting to see how that does. Okay. So this was probably, for those of you who do not garden, looks kind of uninteresting, but we do have some interesting things planted along here, and they're going to come up. Soon. The difference between a shade garden and a sun garden is the colors are more subtle generally, and so to get bright color you really, really, really have to work at it. I'm leaning a little bit more to leaves that are colored, and this is my heuchera bed. I think I've just about got it full as I'm going to do it. And all these plants will get almost 2 feet wide, and they will all blend in together like a patchwork quilt. We won't see the soil beneath. So we got this potted up with a beautiful big Koya and our beautiful red salvia. I fell in love with it last year, but none of it grew very big. So here you see the hardy geraniums. They have just burst out. We've actually had a day or 2 of sun. Okay, let's show you what we're doing over here. I'll probably do a short about how I'm doing my pots. My brother's going to come and drill holes in this pot so that it will drain. I love self-watering pots, and those work great in high desert. Garden Answer loves them. So does Jenny. She uses them. And I do have them in one or two places in the garden from last year. But the reason I'm putting pots where I am is because I'm shining my lights on them, and it creates like a huge spotlight because it lights up the whole pot. And this is what we're going to put in it. Got a coffee cup here. This is a baby that I pulled out of the other pot. And you see what I've done here to support it? I've used a twig. Every time we have a storm, nature does its own pruning job. And we have to go around and pick up a lot of sticks. And this one needed support. It had bent over. And I don't know if this is going to survive or not, but I'm giving it a chance to mend itself. Let's see if we can get that a little bit straighter. See how I've created a little trellis with a twig? Oh, I'm so proud of that. My brother says this is Swedish ivy. Look at how it's grown so fast already. So we'll follow these impatiens. We tried sun impatiens here last year, and they just did not get enough sun. They stayed the same size they were when we put them in. So these have already got a little bit of height on them, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at that. And they will fill out and be touching each other here within probably another 10 to 14 days. Now this will be just a blanket of red. Now remember, Laura on Garden Answer doesn't like to use a lot of red in her landscape. And the reason is she's high desert and they get over 100 degree temperatures. So it would feel even hotter to have all those bright colors. So that's why she chooses cool colors in her garden and leans towards them, because she wants to create a lower temperature in the landscape. She doesn't describe it that way, but that's what she's talking about. Whereas me, I have an incredible cloud cover. I have all the trees. Okay, so the sun's coming through there now. That's at probably 11 o'clock in the sky, if you were gonna do an arch of it. Oh, let's go see the... This is one I've just bought, and it already has the flowers growing up. You know how things that are grown in the greenhouse are in advance. Now, Jenny, in Dallas, North Carolina, just east of Charlotte, she's in the Piedmont area. I'm in western North Carolina, in the mountains, and she's about 3 weeks ahead of me, and her growing is higher than me. We'll talk about that formally, and I'll have my notes handy. But we had, look at that, my coleus are growing. They've put on at least 4 inches. Oh, look at that. Do you see? These violas are still doing well. I think since they're not going to get full sun for terribly long during the day, they just might last this summer and reseed themselves and come back next year. We'll have to watch. Okay. This was a flat of coleus that were lots of different colors, and I managed to get one that had a lot of red in it. Maybe it was 2 flats. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Oh, so I have an area here where, I have bears that come through, and they like to dig things up. I can't use biotone because, it attracts the bears, and they'll take their big claws, and just shoop, looking for slugs or whatever they think might be there. So when I redid the pot by the telephone pole at the entrance to the driveway, I had pansies out there. You can see these are pansies. And I took them out and filled in this like 4-foot long stretch here where the violas had been kind of trashed. I'm not angry at the bears. I just need to, you know, figure out how to do my garden so they leave stuff alone, right? So we have a lot of these ferns here. And the cannas are coming up. They'll be a bright red as well. Oh, now would you check out my orange impatiens? I haven't been able to figure out what to do with these railroad ties. They must be 30 years old, but you know, they treat them, I think, with arsenic and the tar and so forth. So it's not like you can plant anything out here you could eat. And I think it may, I don't know if it affects the growing. It looks like that's not really, the growing is not really an issue anymore because money plants have just gone crazy out here. They would anyway. I have 4 or 5 rose bushes back here. But would you look at how beautiful. And I can see this from my window. They've almost doubled in height. Now I did put fresh dirt out here. Oh, last year maybe. Oh, I showed you these last summer. You see this plant? And I took a chance and left it out here. And it makes the most beautiful blossoms, and it makes the blossoms at every level of growth. And they got almost 3 feet tall last summer. I need to look that up. At some time, I will get the names of all these things to share with you. And we'll do a tour where I put the names up, but I have to learn how to edit these babies too. Okay, that's a little short view of our garden. The No-No garden is doing well. My brother got that done about 2.5 weeks ago before he went to Florida. All that medical emergencies with the family, right? Anyway, so all this is in shade back here. Okay, all this is in shade. Oh, let me tell you the story about these hostas. You remember I had dragon begonias out here for 4 or 5, maybe 4 years. And, you know, it's a bit of an investment when you buy 5 or 6 of those dragon begonias in those big pots. They weren't 4-inch pots. They were probably 6 or 8-inch pots. So they were, I don't know, $15 or $20 a piece. And I overwintered them, but they got leggy, and I did not have any confidence that I could cut them back. And I thought, well, why don't I put up these hostas that have got the white and the light green? And I separated it out from one of the beds that we already have, and intended to do it the next day to thin out the bed that's right by the veranda. And so there's grace in gardening, as Jenny says. There's grace in gardening. Creekside Nursery. I think it was like 10 days went by. I just could not get myself together to come out and, oh, I love the shade. I love the change in the light. It transforms the garden from one few minutes to the next. Okay, so this was the place up here by where I had caladiums, and you know, that just, I mean, you have to take the bulbs in every year, and I didn't have much luck with all that. So I was going to thin this out because this is the hosta that I brought in from this other pot. Let me show you how many in 4 years, I think probably about 4 years. Each one of these are one plant, and now there's 4 or 5 in each place. So I was going to thin this out and I just could not bring myself to do it for one reason or another. You know how that goes, right? Well, still haven't figured out where to plant these remaining chicken gizzard. This is a new one my brother introduced last year, and we overwintered as much of it as we could because it's color. It's full color, and it works well in shade and sun. And I threw in some of this here at the bottom, and we'll see how well that does. Oh, note, I've talked to you about, you might as well, if you're going to put down a slate pathway, that you might as well get some, you know, black or gray, because it's all going to end up that color anyway, unless you do something special. And I don't know what treatments are available, but I'm sure there's something. Well, my brother's he did a Clorox solution, and look at this. See how bright orange that is? It's absolutely stunning. And of course it killed all the plants in between, which I'm not crazy about at all. But he left me a place to step. So we're talking about this area will fill in too. You won't see the rail boxes. Is that creeping? Anyway, so this is the area that I've revamped. People run over this little garden area. You know, everybody's got such big vehicles anymore, and they can't see where they're going. And everybody, the average age is 60 in North Carolina, for God's sake, and everybody's on one kind of medicine or another. Anyway, so this whole area was extremely dense with these hostas. And this is the place that I came in and thinned it out to create the one by the front steps. And I had decided that I was going to switch out the pot. We had a regular boring, you know, pot that something big came in, not decorative at all, and it was black. And I found this pot. It's, you know, it's one of those, they don't use fiberglass anymore, but you know, it's something like that, something plastic. And you know, usually you drape enough stuff over your pots, it doesn't really matter whether it's decorative or not. But in this case, I want to shine a light on it again. One of my little cheapy solar things. I only really need 3 or 4 hours of lamp light off of that, and I've noticed that most of them, where I have the pot lit up with a solar lamp, go on for 3 or 4 hours. Anyway, so this will light up this entire pot incredibly. So I needed to move it back. It had been right up to the edge of the tarmac here in an effort to, you know, alert people this was a planted up space. So I asked permission. They said I could take out some of these hostas and move it back. So I've moved it back probably 1.5 feet. So now it has a total of maybe 2 feet from the tarmac. And that light shines on this pot at night, and it's just brilliant. It's better than any kind of spotlight you could, you know, set out in the garden to reflect on nothing in particular. And here is where I dug up all of these hostas, except this one big one at the back. That's 5 or 6 plants all together there. And I thinned them out, covered basically the same area, except this bit in front. Because I want the lamp to be able to, the solar lamp to shine up on that and reflect bright light at night. This way you don't have to have electricity, or you don't have to do batteries. And I also put in a couple of these hostas along this side. There wasn't any along here. And I kind of like the idea of this pot being enveloped in these hostas. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of them, but as you can see, they have these beautiful green, with these white edges so they show up in the shade. It's really important to have things that will show up in the shade. And again, we've got some of our chicken gizzards. That's bright red. I think that's some Wandering Jew. Hardy begonias. They'll get some, already have some height on them. Can you see that? They already have some height on them. And they have pretty pink flowers. I don't remember what this is. It looks like kind of like a Dracaena. Maybe it's some grass. We'll have to ask my brother about that. But this is underplanted with New Guinea Impatiens. I've got one blooming finally now. And I think we stuck a... Wow, that's that little business growing right in there. Do you see that? That is a plant from last year. And you see how thick those stems are? That's a New Guinea Impatient. And the marvelous thing about these impatiens, do you see how the new growth points are on these old places further down? And here at the end even. So he cut these back. He could have cut them back even more uniformly. But look at the growth on that. And another week or two, they'll be a full go. Full go. All right, that's enough. It is an absolutely marvelous day today. The skies are, blue skies are clear. There's no chemtrails. You know, I'm not good at judging the height of these trees, but they must be 100, 150 feet tall. They're mostly poplar trees. They grow straight and tall. Anyway, so you see the sun shining on our impatiens and our coleus and our... It's a beautiful day. Thank you so much for sharing with me. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great, blessed day. Thank you.